Welcome to Double Fries No Slaw. It's I'm setting this laptop down. Wednesday night. Dude, game day in 2 days, 48 hours from now, Richie. TJ Pittenger, Richie Barnes here to talk FSU versus Virginia. First ACC game, and the game that I said in the offseason was maybe the most important of the season. And it really will shape how you kind of view this team going into a huge rivalry matchup. Richie, how's your week been so far?
It's been good. I'm cannot wait till Friday night. I love what we talked about last week with the bye week that Saturday is stress free, and we have another stress free Saturday coming up.
If we win, I'll be stressed out all day Saturday if we
win. And we'll get into this into more detail. But you and I both talked about how this was probably the most important game of the season if we were to be able to beat Alabama, which obviously we did. We didn't just beat Alabama, we dominated them. But going to Charlottesville, again, I'm trying to remove it from my memory, but I cannot shake 1995 and work done. Got into the end zone. I say it again, but the rest did not give him credit. I think if there was replay review back then, Florida State still wins that game, but Virginia is the first team to beat Florida State in the ACC play since they joined the league. I'm actually really excited about this game, and I never thought I'd say that about a game against Virginia.
No, I'm jacked for it. Should be a ton of fun, and I'm going to it. Richie, what you got a rowback on right now, or what are you wearing?
Yeah, I got my rowback on.
Nice. I wore my rowback the other day. I was actually looking for a different shirt for tonight, and I couldn't find it. I don't know if I left it in Tallahassee or what, but I'm going Battles End tonight. So you got
DFNS 20 on rowback.
Yeah,
20% off your first order.
Hey, wait till they settle up before you begin doing that too much more. Appreciate them. Double Fries No Slaw brought to you, but I don't know where that shirt went. It's one of my favorites. Double Fries No Slaw brought to you by Guthrie's, 1818 West Tennessee Street, 2550 North Monroe, 2870 Appalachia Parkway. We always appreciate Guthrie's and the good folks over there for their support. Make sure you stop by and get you a gut box, Double Fries No Slaw. If you happen to be in town this weekend, which would maybe be strange because I don't think anything's happening in town this weekend. But if you're a college kid watching this, you'll probably be, I don't even need to tell you about it. You'll be there at 2 a.m. like the rest of the line on Tennessee Street will. But if you happen to not be a college kid that's just leaving Ken's or wherever, is Ken still open? Make sure you stop by and get a gut box, Double Fries No Slaw. Richie, Florida State 3-0, UVA 3-1, right? They've played 4 games at this point.
Yeah.
We look at this game and one that, listen, before we really get into a team breakdown of UVA, I'll tell you what I'm not really worried about the matchup. I'm not worried about the opponent. I think Florida State, if you play this game 10 times, I think they win 9 of them, right? UVA would luck into 1. There's no doubt. What worries me more than the opponent, more than their offense, is that it's a Friday night in conference. It's also a Friday night after you have not played a team worth competing against in almost 30 days, right? The game is on the 26th and you played Alabama on the 30th. So you're talking, 27 days difference. So that is what worries me. It's not about UVA, and we'll talk about UVA in just a minute. And I'm not trying to discredit them at all or say that they're not a capable opponent by any means, but the road atmosphere, not that Charlottesville's like some kind of crazy environment, but they do a good job. I went in 2019. It's being on the road on a Friday night, short week, going on the road in conference. That worries me much more than the opponent that we're playing this weekend.
Yeah, no, and I tend to agree with that. And I know what, Tommy said to the media that he is 100% ready to go. I doubt he's truly 100%, but I think he will play like he is. So I do like that. But, just looking at Virginia's schedule so far, they blew out Coastal in their opener, as they should. Then they went on the road to NC State and lost a close one, 35-31. Blew out William & Mary and blew out a really bad Stanford team. So I just really don't know what Virginia is right now. We'll go through some of the stats and the key players for Virginia. But at the same time, right now, you just don't know what they are. But you've already been battle tested week 1 of the season against what looks to be a pretty good Alabama team. They're not Nick Saban's Alabama, as Tommy would say, but they're still a very talented and good team. But Virginia, they have not really been tested this year outside of NC State, and we have no idea how good the Wolfpack is. Sorry, Hunter, if you're listening, but that's just a fact. We don't know how good they are. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But I agree, on a Friday night, first conference game on the road, short week, stranger things have happened. And you're feeling yourselves, right? Like, all these players have been going to class being told how amazing they are, how great this football team is. And they're already looking ahead. Hopefully not, but there's going to be a certain part of this team. And this is where Mike Norvell comes in. You cannot start looking ahead to Miami. Take care of business this week, and then you can start looking ahead to Miami.
You mentioned that NC State game. I think one of the keys for me in this game is how well Florida State can run the ball, which Florida State has this year run the ball extremely well. They have, literally in the last game set we talked about on Sunday, they set a record for how well they ran the ball. And so that is a big question to me. That NC State game, which we're playing the transitive property at this moment, so just bear with me. NC State, who got taken to the woodshed by Duke last weekend, was able to run for 216 yards against Virginia. There were a couple of explosive runs in there. Hollywood Smothers had a 57-yard carry, and CJ Bailey, the quarterback, had a 30-yard carry. You do kind of wonder just a little bit about how fresh Tommy truly will be, but if they were able to be run on that way against NC State, who I don't think is great, again, sorry, Hunter, that is a red flag to me. Duke only ran for 149 yards on NC State. Sorry, NC State only ran for 170 yards on Duke. It doesn't matter what Duke ran for. So they were able to run the ball significantly better against Duke than they were against Virginia. I think Virginia's got a very bad run defense, and that is Florida State's strength, is being able to run the ball. Obviously, that's what Gus wants to do. We really like the running back room and the versatility that they've shown. And we obviously like guys like Lucas and Danzy coming around the edges. Tommy's ability to keep the ball when he needs to. Some of his stuff was less designed. Obviously, that touchdown on the corner early in the game to go up 21 to 7 was designed. But some of his stuff is more like when the play breaks down, he takes off. Against Bama, you saw more of the design stuff. I don't know if Florida State will go super heavy into that. I think they'll just try and line up and beat them because Tommy's a little bit hobbled. But if you need that, you have that ability. And again, CJ Bailey at NC State, not as good of an athlete as Tommy is, was able to have pretty good success running the ball. He had 6 carries for 44 yards, average 7.3, 2 touchdowns on the ground. And then Hollywood Smothers went for 17 carries, 140 yards, a long of 57, and a couple of scores on the ground. If Florida State's able to, and this is what gives me the most confidence in this game, if Florida State is able to establish the ground game, which when I think about games on the road on Friday night, going back to my worry, sometimes the passing is not as crisp. Sometimes it takes the quarterback a little bit of time to get into a rhythm. You even remember Jameis back in 2014 when he was kind of a turnover machine. He had 3 or 4 turnovers in that Louisville game early in the game, and it was no rhythm playing in a tough atmosphere in a night game in conference. And then you add in the Friday weirdness, it adds to that. One thing that does travel is a running game. You line up and you block the guy in front of you and you run into the hole. Right? Like that's not rocket science. You have to execute well, but that is something that should travel. And it's probably the biggest confidence I have because Virginia has been terrible when they've played anybody with a pulse that likes to run the ball. And I do think that is really good news for the Seminoles. When I look at this, I know I'm kind of going on here for a moment, but even when I look at, Stanford, that was the complete opposite. Stanford couldn't run the ball at all. They had 35 yards rushing. That's a little bit adjusted. They really had 80, but lost. They had 45 yards in sack yardage. So they had like 80 yards rushing. And that's why they weren't really able to get anything accomplished against UVA. But anyway, so all that said, all that summed up, I really like our ability to run the ball. And that starts to creep Virginia up into the box to try and limit that. That's where I think guys like Danzy, Squirrel White, if he's 100%, certainly Deuce going up for one-on-ones, Randy Pittman, who should be back this week. That's where I think those guys can feast.
Yeah, and what I love about this team, TJ, is how hard is it to scout this Florida State team?
Extremely.
Because every single week it's a different guy. That's not like, all right, we need to zone in on this person or this guy. There's none of that. Gus Malzahn is a savant when it comes to calling an offense and putting a game plan together. He's going to be more than prepared. But, I'm just randomly looking at the box score here from Virginia, NC State, Virginia's one loss. Do you know what NC State was on third down when they beat Virginia?
I'd imagine pretty good. What you got?
1 for 7.
Wow.
You know what Virginia was in that same game? 13 for 19.
Wow.
So Virginia played a good game. I did not watch it.
The turnovers absolutely killed them.
It was a -1 turnover battle.
No, so I think it was -2. There was a turnover on downs. There was a turnover on downs as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't get counted, but yeah, same thing kind of.
But yeah, it's just again, it's impossible, and it's so early in the season, you don't know. But yeah, that's what partially what I love about this team. It's not like, going back to like 2015, everyone knew, all right, if we stop Dalvin Cook, we're going to win. Well, nobody could stop him, but that was at least the game plan. Here, like, do we key in on Danzy, Lucas, Sawhawk, whoever it may be? It doesn't matter. This offense is going to be, they don't have an All-American type player on the offense just yet, right? But they have so many weapons that are capable of doing so many different things. And Gus Malzahn, through 3 games, has shown he knows how to get the players, get his playmakers the ball in their hands, and just let them go to work. That's what's so exciting to me. Virginia, again, I just don't know enough about them because they haven't played anybody. The only halfway decent team they played, they lost, despite dominating that third down conversion rate, which is still crazy to me. 13 of 19 versus 1 for 7.
And they really should have, if I'm being honest with you, Virginia should have won this game. I went back and rewatched it. The score was 35-31 going into the fourth quarter. Both teams had scored 5 times. Obviously, NC State had 5 touchdowns, and Virginia had 4 touchdowns and a field goal. So NC State's up 35-31 going into the fourth quarter. NC State drives 50 yards and misses a field goal. That would have cut it to 1, right? 3 and out for NC State. They drive another 50 yards and get stopped on 4th down inside the 20. If they had made that field goal earlier, they would have kicked another one to take the lead, obviously. Another punt from NC State. And Virginia drives all the way down inside the 10-yard line and throws a pick inside of the end zone. Oof. They played well enough to win the game if they could have finished drives. And so that is something to consider. They had a great fourth quarter that was absolutely wrecked by mistakes. The one thing about Virginia, and this is probably the biggest concern that you've got, is their offense. Now, I don't think they've played a very good defense yet. When I was texting with Clay Fink of Noles 247, and let me scroll back to the text just so I can tell you. But I was texting with him yesterday, and sorry, I know this is live, but I want you to know this. This is posted by Noel Lifestyle on Twitter. The FBS defenses that UVA has faced so far, which they've got a good offense statistically. We'll talk about some of their stats in a minute. The FBS defenses that UVA has played so far, Stanford's 107. Remember, there's 136 teams. NC State's 112. Coastal Carolina, a non-ACC team, is 91st. They have played 3 horrific defenses, bottom third in the country defenses. One of them being a group of 6, right? A Coastal Carolina, and then Stanford, who is awful in this conference, really should be a group of 6 team, and then NC State, right? Which NC State's got good athletes, but just has been a horrific defense. Duke put 40 up on them. So that does give me some confidence that our defense, which I think is much better. I don't know where we grade out by FPI or S&P Plus, but I'd imagine kind of top 30-ish everywhere. When you opponent adjust, right? They did well against Bama, but the last 2 opponents don't help that a ton. I do have a lot of confidence in Florida State's defense to be the best that they've seen so far. Chandler Morris, you wrote this down. I don't care who you play. if you have 1,000 yards through 4 games, that is impressive. He's got 8 touchdowns and an interception. That's a really good stat profile to put up. Now, you might be doing it against garbage competition. And let's be fair, all 4 teams that they played have garbage defenses. And the 4th team they played was William and Mary. So, again, would rank behind Stanford, NC State, and Coastal in that category. But that's still a really good average. Good runner, too. You wrote this down, 8 yards per carry. And that factors in how many times he's been sacked. He's a good quarterback. And my concern with Florida State in the Bama game was being able to get pressure on Simpson to move his feet so that you could throw them off balance. They did a good job of that. You got to go do that on the road here too. If you get him out of the pocket, if you get him moving a little bit, you'll have a ton of success, and you could make this thing ugly and uninteresting by the third quarter.
Yeah, and just to add on top of that, he's completing basically 71% of his passes right now, 70.8%. He has a long of 75, but he's protected the ball. Like you just mentioned, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. And, we mentioned his yards per carry. He's only been sacked once through 4 games. So he does a good job of either getting rid of the ball or
playing avoiding
the pressure. He is a really good quarterback. I don't know what year he is, but I doubt he's at Virginia next year if he keeps putting up numbers like this, because he's on pace for over 4,000 yards, over 30 touchdowns. I mean, he has a lot that he can do. I'm definitely, he definitely has my eye right now. You look at the rest of the offense, and it's really running back by committee. Jamari Taylor has the most carries so far with 48, but then you have running backs with 26, 22, 33 carries, and they're all averaging, well, let's see here, 6.2 yards a carry, 8.2 yards a carry, 7.7 yards a carry, and then Chandler Morris, 9.4 yards a carry. I mean, there's just, this offense could be a problem in Charlottesville Friday night. I'll just say that.
Yeah. I need the same intensity that we've seen so far this year. They've been very intense in all 3 games. I understand that the first opponent is much different than the other 2. But if they bring the intensity, I don't think that UVA will be able to move the ball like they have so far. It would shock me if you – I hope this doesn't get clipped. Let me knock on wood. I don't want to jinx it. Try to manifest the opposite. But it would, I won't say shock. It would surprise me pretty heavily if UVA was able to get to 30 points. I think mid-20s would kind of be my ceiling for them, and I'd feel pretty comfortable. Did you talk about Trell Harris, their wide receiver?
Not yet. He's kind of their main guy. He's second on the team in receptions with 18, but he leads them with 321 yards, averaging 17.8 yards per reception. He is definitely their deep threat and the biggest concern. I think you put Earl Little on him and you feel happy with how things turn out. The other 2 receivers who have more than 10 receptions are Cam Ross and Jamal Edrine with 19 and 14, averaging 13.3, 12.1 yards per reception. And then nobody else has more than 6 receptions on the season. I think they want to run the ball a lot like Florida State will want to do, which I think honestly plays into Florida State's favor, which I would love to get into a running match with Virginia, because I think Florida State has the better offensive line. I think they have the better running backs, and they have the better quarterback. We know we just gave Morris a lot of credit on his running ability, but give me Tommy, even if he's only 85, 90%, I'm really happy with him because he can emphasize. We've seen that time and time again. We saw, we were all pulling our hair out in that 2023 Boston College game when he was just making play after play after play. But if it's going to be a quote unquote shootout, I want it to be a running game shootout.
Yeah, and that's where if they can really play complementary, if the defense can really step up, and Florida State, I mean, they've been really good to open games. Didn't we score our first 3 drives against Bama? I think we scored on our first 9 drives against East Texas A&M, and then I think you scored on at least your first 5 or 6. Well, no, I guess you scored on every drive against. Did you score on every drive against Kent State? Because you didn't miss.
So.
You didn't
think
get
so.
stopped on fourth. Oh,
We
yeah,
have not
turnover.
punted once this year, I believe.
No, we punted 3 times against Bama, but you did have one turnover.
Since then, yeah.
You did have one turnover against. You had one turnover in each crappy game, but then you scored on every other drive. If you can start quick like that again, you can score on your first 2 or 3 possessions, go up 14 or 17.
It's over. Yeah.
The defense is built. If they've got to pass the ball and that be all that they do, bring it on. You mentioned Errol Little. I really like Jerry Wilson and his multiple takeaways that he's had this year. It'd be nice to get a takeaway or two with a really aggressive defense against a team that is better than Kent State or East Texas A&M. You wrote this down. Their kicker's not been great, 70%. Obviously, Weinberg has made his only 2 attempts on the year. Made all his point after touchdowns, so he's got a ton of points, but just all having to do it one point at a time. But a game that Florida State is much the better team, and that's no disrespect to Virginia. They've got the better athletes. They've got the better coaches. They are the better team. They just have to, I was wondering, and it's not a perfect 1-for-1 translation, Richie, but I was wondering how they would show up against a bad team. And they played 2 bad teams. And I was wondering how they'd show up after a bye week. And I was wondering how they'd show up when maybe it's not as exciting of a matchup. And I'll tell you this, that doesn't mean that you're just automatically going to go out and do whatever you want on Friday night against Virginia. But the way that they showed up and the way that they looked like they cared to wear the FSU logo and go out there and perform, excuse me, against a really bad opponent, it gives me a lot of confidence that they will show up ready to play this game. I don't really worry about a look ahead because I do think that they know, and I think it's been drilled into them that you lose this one, the Miami game, I mean, it still would matter because you could basically undo that game with a win against Miami because you'd have the tiebreaker over them. But you would lose this one and all your hopes and dreams of, what could we be this year? I don't want to say they're gone, but they significantly get reduced. And all the excitement that you had from beating Bama and everybody else, it's all kind of gone. Because we all kind of said we'd be 3-1 coming out of this anyway. And so you beat Bama, but then you lose to a bad team and you come up with that same record. Now you've got a conference loss. Yeah, it wouldn't be worse because it was great to beat Bama. But man, that's a crappy way to do it. So I don't worry about a look ahead. I think they will come out really well because they've shown that already this year. They've shown that they are here to come out and perform really well. Any other thoughts, or you want me to go to our picks?
Yeah, no, just a final thought. I do think, Mike Norvell, again, we talked about it. He's kind of the motivator guy, right? And now he has a phenomenal OC and a phenomenal DC to where he was able to take all week and then tomorrow as well to get the team focused on this game and the importance of it. Because, you're 3-0, but you're 0-0 in conference play right now. Yeah. And the ultimate goal is to get to Charlotte and then make the college football playoff. That is what the message needs to be. And I have no doubt that Mike Norvell is sending that message to the players and to his coaching staff and staff meetings. This is a huge game for Florida State, especially if we were, preseason, we both thought about, 7, maybe 8 wins. Well, now you win this game, you're looking at 10-11 wins on the season. It's a huge game. And if Mike Norvell has them prepared and they can play focused and disciplined and come out with a W, then you get game day next week in Tallahassee. It's a huge opportunity. And I think Mike Norvell needs to sell that message. What an opportunity you guys have. I know we play, that school from Coral Gables next week, but none of that matters unless we take care of business on Friday night in Charlottesville.
Speaking on Friday night in Charlottesville, let's do some picks, Richie. Harlan, do you have our season totals for this? I don't know if you've kept track of it or not, but we'll try and update you next week going into Miami. We'll go a quarter of the season and update everybody. Let's do them. Sleeper, use our code DFNS for 100% match up to $100. Literally get your phones out now and let's make some money together. I picked a couple of these on the screen, as you can see, but let's do them, Richie. Gavin Sawchuk, more or less than a touchdown. He's an anytime touchdown scorer. He is the starting running back for Florida State this week.
It's just a 1, not a 0.5 out of 1.5.
No, it's a 0.5.
0.5, yeah, more, definitely.
Yeah, I like the more on this. Harlan, I don't know. Are you playing this with us this year, or do you just do a pick at the end? If you tell me what yours are, Harlan, I'll say them out loud. Castellanos, more or less than 173 passing yards.
More.
I like
I just think that's one pass to like a squirrel white.
173. That's way more than one pass. Come on, man.
Well, no, I mean like that's a 60-yard pass, and then you need 113 yards after that. Like I'd say more on that.
I'd lean more too. I think we're going to run the piss out of the ball though. So actually, I'll take less. I think we have a great game, but I think it's a little bit less. Harlan's going more on this one. Mekhi Danzy, last year's kind of star, or last week's kind of star of the game, an anytime touchdown. So more or less 0.5.
Less. I don't think he gets in this week.
I'm going to go less, but if they run a reverse, I'm going to be like the whole way down the sideline. I'm going to be like, step out of the one, step out of the one, step out of the one. I'll go less as well. Harlan likes less. I don't know. I think we probably score 4 touchdowns. I think we get around, so that in mind, probably less. Rady Pittman coming back from injury, 18.5 receiving yards. He had like 40 against Alabama. If they throw him the ball twice, he's going to get more than this. So I'll go more. Even coming off the injury, I'll go more.
So we'll differ for the first time. I'll go less on this one.
We disagreed on timing. Harlan's going more as well. Yeah. So me and Harlan more, Richie less. Deuce Robinson, 47.5 receiving yards.
That's a good number. That's a really good number. I will say less just because you don't know who's going to be the guy every week. We just have so many weapons. Like I said, we don't have that one All-American guy. We don't have that Ryan Williams, so to speak. I'll say less this week.
Yeah, Harlan and I are both going more on this one. I think he does get it. I think he gets over that. So because I'm kind of crazy taking his more and Randy's more, kind of boxing myself in there.
Well, that one legitimately could be just one catch.
Yeah. So. 47.5 for Deuce. I think he gets it. I think they feel, man, I'm not super confident in that one because they do like to spread the ball around and they like to run a lot. I'll go more just because I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Chandler Morris, 235.5 passing yards. I kind of think I'm going to go less, but I kind of understand if you want to take more here because I do think Florida State builds a lead and I think they have to throw the ball a ton. So that's kind of why I like him on more, but I'm going to trust the secondary and say that Florida State's able to limit him and make it ugly. So yeah, 235.5, I'll go less.
First conference game on the road on a Friday night. I think there's going to be at least one breakdown in coverage where Virginia probably does get a long touchdown pass, and that will be the pass to put him over that limit. I'm going to say more. He's been impressive just looking at his numbers. I'm going to say more.
Harlan's also more on this one. And then last one, Trell Harris, 54.5 passing yards. I'm going to go, I know I took the less on Chandler Morris, but I'll take the more on this one to try and split the difference on these two. That way I, will at least get one of them. They're going to feed him the ball and he could have 5 or 6 catches. And if he stays around his average like that, that's fine. I think they're going to try and work the ball to him underneath and let him make plays. He's really explosive. Would not shock me at all if he had a nice day. Wouldn't shock me at all if Florida State was able to keep him out of the end zone, but we're not doing touchdowns. We're doing receiving yards. So 54.5, I'll go more.
54.5. So that's
Harlan's less on this one. Yep.
Based on his average, that's essentially 3 catches. I'd like Tony White. I like this defense. I'm going to go less as well.
Whew. You and Harlan less, me more on that one. Use our code DFNS for 100% match up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. Make sure you check their terms of use for details. Richie, let's go around the country real quick and pick some games. This is a loaded weekend. So we talk a little bit about being able to hopefully rest and relax on Saturday. We won't do much relaxing if we don't get this win. But number 21 USC goes to Illinois, who is number 23 right now. Illinois lost to Indiana by about $1 billion. I like USC to go on the road and get this win.
Give me Illinois.
You picked Illinois last week too, just to let you know.
A cross-country flight. I know that they're going to get used to it being in the Big Ten now. But yeah, I just think, last week was kind of a fluke with Illinois. I think they bounce back and win this week at home in Champaign.
Dude, I have some friends that would just kill me or punch me in the face if I picked Illinois. So that's really why I'm picking USC there. But my girl would, yeah, it would just not be good. So roll Trojans or whatever they say over there. Ohio State at Washington. This is a sneaky good game where Ohio State's on the road. They're an 8.5-point favorite. I really like Jedfish. I think this is closer than the spread, but I do think Ohio State wins.
I agree 100%. I think, Washington, I've that is on my bucket list of places I want to go to watch a game. Do some sailgating. The atmosphere seems insane. I do think Ohio State comes out on top, but I do think that Washington covers the spread, and I will definitely be betting on that game.
LSU is at Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is like a point and a half favorite in the Grove.
LSU, excuse me. LSU at Ole Miss. Give me Ole Miss. It's at Ole Miss. I think Lane Kiffin is one of the most underrated coaches in college football. I truly do. Being in Oxford, give me Ole Miss. Give me Ole Miss on this one.
I'm going to go LSU here. I think they find a way. I like their defense, and I think they get it done. But I don't have a lot of confidence in there, and I would prefer to see Ole Miss do it because I like Lane. Night stuff. 2 games of the week. Kind of a top 6 matchup here. Number 6, Oregon going to Penn State for a whiteout at night.
Penn State. I think Oregon's the better team, but I think going into Happy Valley for a whiteout at night, again, I do think travel matters more in college than it necessarily in the pros, but I'm taking Penn State, and they could be your new number 1 team in the country after this weekend.
I'm going to go with Oregon on this. And I know I'm for all the same reasons I want to go with Penn State. I just think Oregon's looked a little bit more fluid, and I think that I like Drew Aller a lot, but he has not impressed me so far this year. Dante Moore has, so I'll take Oregon on the road in an upset so that I don't just go chalk all the way through. All right, here's a fun one. Alabama at Georgia. I know FSU fans would prefer Alabama win this thing, but I don't think they do. I think Kirby's won like 30-something games in a row at home. Alabama's been terrible on the road under Kalen DeBoer. Until I see that change, I'm not buying the hype from them beating Wisconsin in ULM. I think Georgia rolls here.
I think Kirby is 1-6 against Alabama as Georgia's head coach. Obviously, one of those games was a huge one, but I just think Wisconsin is not good. So we thought that was an impressive win for Alabama. But I'm going to say Kalen DeBoer gets his first signature win and goes into Athens, and Alabama beats Georgia.
Ooh, that's a big pick. Tony here. Harlan, play us something.
Touchdown, Florida State! Touchdown, FSU!
Tony Zuniga, thank you for the love, says, sup guys, love the show. Do you think that Chandler Morris is the best QB that we'll see other than Carson Beck?
Yes.
I'll say no. And I know he's not had a good year so far, but I still think that Cade is better. Yeah, not Lagway. No, he sucks. I think Klubnik is better. And I know he's not been great so far this year, but whether he plays better or not, maybe that's a better question. I think Morris's stats are a little bit inflated by the terrible defenses he's played so far this year. I think Klubnik is a better quarterback, and having to play him on the road in Death Valley, I know they just lost to Syracuse there. I know they've already lost to LSU there. I know they lost to Georgia Tech. I get all that. I think Klubnik is a better quarterback. So just answering the question, I think Klubnik's better, but that's a really hard thing to answer right now because Klubnik's been so terrible and so is Clemson. But I think that by middle of November, which I'll be there, thankfully, that will be a different story. So I can go either way on that, but I'll go Cade on that one. We did a film breakdown that I'll quickly tell you guys about. Go check that out. It's live on the channel right now, where Clay Fink, formerly of Noles 24/7, broke down the UVA game, brought out some film, brought out some advanced analytics, some stats. It's doing really well on the channel right now. So go check that out if you can. Appreciate Clay for putting that together. Once this is done, you should definitely go watch that. His final score was 38-21. Florida State after breaking down the film. So he's smarter than Richie and I. And so that's why we have him do that so that he can kind of give you an official kind of a position on this game. Harlan, Richie and I will predict it too, but Clay's holds more weight than any of ours. Harlan says 45-10 FSU. What you got, Richie?
I just think a weeknight game, first conference game on the road against a capable opponent. Florida State is the better team, right? I don't think anyone would dispute that, but I think it's going to be a close one. I think Virginia covers the spread. It's 7.5 right now. I'll say Florida State is able to outlast Virginia and win 28-24.
Ooh, close. Yeah, I think it's a little further apart than that. I think that UVA can score a little bit, but I think Florida State just scores enough to make this not super, super stressful. 34-20 is what I'll go with. Florida State gets to 34.
I'd much prefer that.
I would rather me be right than Richie on this one. Actually, I'd rather Harlan be right than all of us. But 30, what did I just say? 34-20. Yeah, kicks it. We kick a couple of field goals, score 6 times, get the ball in the end zone 4 times, and walk out of there 1-0 in the ACC, 4-0 through the first quarter of the season.
I'll just say, TJ, I'm not feeling great about this one.
Oh, get out of here! I feel pretty good.
I'm just saying, we'll see. But I do think we walk out of Charlottesville with a win. Game day is in Tallahassee next Saturday, and college football is officially back in the city of Tallahassee, and it will be insane in Doak Campbell Stadium that night.
Miami and FSU shortly thereafter. Richie, any shout outs before we get out of here?
Nothing for me this week. I'm just, I'm excited. Friday Night Football, it's kind of exciting, And again, I'm looking forward to it. I have to wait one less day, but if we win this game, I mean, Miami cannot lose this weekend, obviously. Next weekend could be the biggest game in Florida State
in 10 years.
Recent history.
Yeah, 2014 would be the last time I remember one this big when Notre Dame and Clemson came to town that year.
Yeah, so I'm pumped, but you have to beat the Cavaliers. I'm sorry, Rondé Barber, who I loved at Tampa Bay. Like, I need your team to go down this week.
I am going to shout out. Yeah, I don't love a Friday night game. I was talking with a friend this week. They've got something going on Friday night. And they're like, man, I'm going to skip what I have going on Friday night so that I can go to the, or go to like the first couple of minutes and then go home so I can watch the game. So shout out to the people that are skipping obligations to watch Florida State on a Friday night, because that's what's really important. Double Fries No Slaw, TJ Pinger, Richie Barnes. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. We will be back. Actually, I don't know when we'll be back. We talked about Saturday. We talked about different things. We'll figure that out. We hope you tune in. We hope you're subscribed. Hope you go watch Clay's film breakdown, which is on the channel right now. If you're watching us live, go watch Clay's film breakdown if you haven't already. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Go Noles.